Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to your energy forecast for October 26th through November 1st. I'm Portia with Soul Clark Studio, and this week we enter week 44 that is also guided by the Five of Spades. Now, the Five of Spades is a card of change, restlessness, and the quest for freedom. This week we also move from October to November, so expect some shakeups that will ultimately serve your evolution. So let's explore how this transformative energy works throughout the week with astrology, numerology, and cardology. So this week in astrology, the sun recently moved from Libra to Scorpio on October 23rd. So we're going to be tuning our attention from out of harmony into emotional depth and truth, right? Scorpios are truth seekers, and it's also the sign of regeneration. So expect some transformative energy to be working for you this during this time as well. Scorpio season does ask us to look beneath the surface, right, and face what we've been avoiding. So, uh, don't be surprised if you find yourself having emotionally truthful conversations with loved ones, or just, bearing everything that you've been holding back this year to clear the air, or looking for more emotional depth and clarity during the season. This week, the moon travels from Virgo to Libra to Scorpio, then to Sagittarius. Now, under the Virgo moon, which is October 26th and the 27th, the themes will be organization, health, and practical detail. Now, of course, with the Virgo influence, our emotional focus will be towards order, clarity, and self improvement. You may have a strong urge to organize or refine your routines, or maybe just clean house for just to restore some inner calmness within your day. Now, this energy does help ground emotions through productivity and invites mindfulness around the body, health, and daily habits. Now, we do know that most Virgos are picky eaters or they have stomach issues. So maybe during this time, you may consider eating healthier, coming up with a diet or some type of weight loss routine or something of that nature. And then being very detail oriented during these days as well. Now, as we shift from Tuesday to Wednesday, October 28th and the 29th, we will be under the moon in Libra. So this is really a focus of relationships, diplomacy, and balance. And so Libra is going to kind of soften the atmosphere and help you see both sides of any situation. And also, you're going to be looking to seek more harmony and balance in your connections, whether that's romantic, personal, or business. Now, your emotions, of course, always crave, balance and equilibrium. And so during this time, it actually makes a great time for you to be honest, yet graceful with your communication. And also, it's also a good reminder to restore balance between giving and receiving, right? So sometimes you may take, but now it's time for you to start giving more. So you want to balance that energy a little bit more this week, but not just in relationships, but also within yourself, right? So maybe you try to balance, your work life, or something like that during those 2 days while you're under the influence of Libra and the moon. Now, we're going to switch midweek to Scorpio moon, which is going to intensify our inner feelings. Now, the Scorpio moon happens between October 30th and the 31st. And so the themes for the Scorpio moon is going to be intensity, emotional release, and transformation. So during this time, you're going to be called to more inner healing. So you're also going to have to let the discomfort kind of guide you towards renewal instead of resisting the change or discomfort that's happening in your life at that moment. Now, during the Scorpio moon, emotions may deepen and surface. The truths are going to surface, right? Because Scorpios are truth seekers, right? They hold a lot of emotional depth. And so what happens is that things will come up that can no longer be avoided. Things that you've been putting off, holding your tongue about during this year are going to come to surface during this time, and you're going to be more apt to come out with those emotional truths about how you've been feeling. Now, this also, great time to face what's been buried, as I said before, because this is going to help you release old pain and patterns or fears that no longer serve you or that are holding you back from evolving. Now, during the Scorpio moon, it is a great time, a powerful time to do shadow work, to go deeper in within and reclaim your emotional power through vulnerability and truth. So, if there ever were a time for you to be vulnerable, for you to be emotionally open, then during this time, October 30th and the 31st is the perfect time for that. And this is also, like I said, a great time for spiritual work because the veil between the spiritual world and the material world is actually the thinnest of the year between October 31st and November 1st, which is the Day of the Dead. So, this is a great time for you to connect to yourself spiritually, to your ancestors, right? To heal anything that's been going on in your life, any past traumas, anything relating to generational curses or anything like that. It is a great time to heal those opportunities. Now, as we move into Saturday, the moon changes energy again and we move into Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius talks about adventure, optimism, and expansion. And so it's going to start lifting, right, the spirits after that period of intensity, emotional intensity that we went through with the Scorpio moon. So it's going to help restore hope and enthusiasm. It's going to help us to explore and learn and reconnect with our higher selves or our spiritual truth. And under this influence, you're going to be reminded that growth requires faith, right? You have to trust the process under this influence, and that every ending is actually really setting you up for a new adventure. So don't think of it as, oh, I'm ending this part of my life, or I'm no longer going to be with this person, or whatever that may be. Every closed door opens up a new window. So look at it that way, and then you're making space, right? You're clearing what's old to make space for what's new. And so, to sum up this week, the lunar energies are going to carry us from grounded analysis to relational awareness into deep transformation with that Scorpio moon, and then finally towards freedom on Saturday under the influence of Sagittarius moon. We remain in a universal month number one in October this week, and this is a month of new beginnings and self direction. The daily energies for this number 44 week are so Sunday, October 26th, Universal Day 9. So a day 9 asks us to wrap up, complete, right? Have some forgiveness, release what no longer serves you, tie up loose ends, and close cycles. So Sunday is a perfect day to go ahead and wrap up anything that you feel that needs to be complete before you start the week. And then on Monday, October 27th, that day equals up to a universal day one. So now we're beginning, right? New beginnings. This is going to be a fresh start. You may feel a little more independent on Monday, right? You might start asserting your independentness. You may have initiative. You may act on a clear and single priority, right? You may have one focus on one thing on Monday because of that singular energy of the one. Now, on Tuesday, October 28th, we now head into a day two, which focuses on partnerships, patience, and cooperation. But also, with that number two energy, you're looking for more harmony, right? So you're going to be listening more, building bridges, creating harmony and peace within your relationships. And then on October 29th, which is Wednesday, equals up to a universal day three, which is perfect energy for a Wednesday because Wednesdays are ruled by Mercury. And Mercury is the planet that rules writing, communication, and things like that. And so that day three energy is going to give you more creativity, more communication. You're going to be more willing to share your truth on that day. You're going to be called to maybe create something, maybe teach something, as I said. That energy is just right because of the day and the energy of because of the day of the week that it is Wednesday and the number day that it is that number 3 days. So you may feel that you're more called to socialize more on Wednesday. So don't be surprised if you find yourself phoning a friend or just wanting to have more conversation on that day. Now, on Thursday, October 30th, which equals up to day four. So, after all that communication you did on Wednesday and that day three, you're going to be called to have a little more discipline on this day on Thursday, right? You're going to be thinking about structure, routine, building plans, building daily routines, basically setting the foundation, making sure that the home is nice and secure. You're going to be planning or organizing, maybe even systematizing some of your daily efforts just to make it real, right? So that's what the four energy is about. It's about building systems that last, building systems that are sustainable, right? And making sure that you are organized and secure. Now, Friday, which is also Halloween, October 31st, is a great day for socializing because it's a day 5. So that 5 energy is always about socialization, freedom, change, adventure, right? So you might find yourself being a little more adventurous on Friday, not just because it's Halloween, but also because the energy of the day. Now, you may find yourself wanting to try something new because 5 is all about experiences. So you're going to be a little more flexible on Friday as well. And so it is just a great day for that energy, for parties, for socializing, for gatherings. So if you plan on doing that on Friday, then definitely that energy is with you to do so. And then on Saturday, we move into November 1st, which is also known as All Saints Day or All Souls Day or Day of the Dead. And this is when the veil is the thinnest between the material and the spiritual world, right? And so on this day, this would be a perfect day for you to do some healing work, some shadow work. Because of the Scorpio moon the day before, you should have done your shadow work. On Saturday, we're moving into the Sagittarius moon. And so this is going to be great energy for you to start those new beginnings. You should have cleared anything that you need to clear within the week. And then beginning on Saturday, with that 6, you're going to be thinking more of family, love, the home, community, nurturing relationships, beautifying your space, right? And then tending to other and their needs. So don't be surprised if you find yourself, looking more so into more family oriented endeavors on that Saturday, which ties perfectly into the Halloween weekend. So I think the energy is really right for those kind of activities. So what you'll notice is that there's just a natural rhythm this week, from self-reliance to collaboration. Then you're going to have creativity and structure, and finally freedom, right? And so this is just the essence of the 5 of spades this week. So that energy is being woven throughout the numerology in the week as well, because 5 is that number of freedom and flexibility. And so with Halloween falling on the day 6 day, like I said, it's going to be great for the community gatherings and ancestral remembrance from day 6. For that day 6, I would definitely, hone in on more family ancestral activities. This week in Cardology is influenced by the 5 of Spades, which is a card that embodies the traveler spirit. It also reflects movement, flexibility, and the courage to evolve. This card's message means that true freedom is gained through conscious change. So if you're expressing the higher vibration of the 5 of spades, then you're showing more adaptability this week. You're more explorative, you're feeling more liberated, right? And you probably have a more mental clarity than ever before. If you're expressing the high side of this energy. Now, the low side of the 5 of spade energy would be impulsiveness, right? Acting on things without thinking through, anxiety, escapism, and just stirring chaos just to feel alive, right? So that could be the negative side of this card, that, or maybe influencing you this week as well. Now, when we break down the 5 at spade itself, we look at the number 5 and what that number represents. So we know that number 5 represents travel, change, freedom, um, sexual exploration, right? So because 5 is the number of sex. And then let's look at the card element itself, which is the spade. And spade is usually an older soul. It represents hard work, success, and hard work. So we can honestly say, when it comes to the 5 of spades, that this card is more or less about transforming your consciousness, right, from material to spiritual. And again, spades can be workaholics, and so this may be an area where you may look at life in a different perspective and try to balance that energy here with this 5 of spade. And then added into the fact that we are in Scorpio season, the Scorpio debt would amplify the lesson. So rather than running from the discomfort, you need to transform with it, right? Because 5 people or 5 energy, it doesn't like hard work per se, and it can be very scattered. So you need to discern between escapism and expansion. Not every impulse means to go, and sometimes it means that you can grow, right? So check your feelings, right? I know that we're in Scorpio season, and sometimes people can be very emotional because Scorpio is a water sign. But this would be the perfect season and the perfect week for you to kind of check your feelings to see if your feelings are valid before you just act on the impulse, right? Because sometimes we can act on impulse and not know the full story before we just react. So the Five of Spades also can signal travel, pivotal conversations, and sudden insight as well this week. So my advice to everyone under the Five of Spade influence of this week is to stay open. Don't scatter your energy because fives are known to scatter energy. You want to be more focused and don't chase everything that glitters. And you want to anchor before you move, right? Look before you leap is basically my advice for those under the Five of Spade energy of this week. So your energy guidance for this week, early week, October 26th and 27th, the moon will be under the Virgo influence. So this is day 1 and 2. It's going to ask us to ground our restless energy, organize our thoughts, and separate true callings from fear-based impulses or FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Creativity meets structure with October 28th and 29th, which is day 3 and 4 of the week. And so we're going to be speaking more truth in our relationships. So this honest dialogue is actually going to build stronger foundations here. And on day, the late in the week, which is day October 30th and 31st, which are days 5 and 6, we're going to peak transformation during this time. So we're going to release anything that confines us. And on Halloween, you're going to honor your ancestors and the cycles of death and rebirth, right? Because we're going to be in the Scorpio season as well. So this is just the perfect time to honor your ancestors and the cycle of life, basically, right? The rebirth and death of life, right? It's just a cycle. So on the weekend, we have November 1st, which is also day 7, and that we're going to be under the influence of the Sagittarian moon. And so with this, we get a chance to exhale, right? Reflect, integrate, and then reconnect with our spiritual compass, right? Which we are regrowing spiritually. So with that said, the journal prompt for this week is, what am I avoiding that I know I need to change, right? So I know there's something in your life that you may have been avoiding, this week or for a while, and you know that you need to address that issue, whether it's having that tough conversation with a friend or family member about boundaries, whether it's about setting a structure in your day that you're more productive and that you're actually moving the needle forward in your business. So what is it that you're avoiding? Or maybe it's not taking care of your finances in a proper way, right? Because think about this. The way that you address your finances during this time is actually pivotal as well. So think about the things that you're avoiding. You're avoiding looking at your checking account, or you're avoiding making a budget per month, or whatever that is, that structure that you need with your finances. So let's look at all aspects of our life, even your health, right? So what are you avoiding that you know that you need to change, and what can you shed a spotlight on, right? Because this is all about revealing the shadow side this week, and that's what this journal prompt is for, right? What am I avoiding that I know I need to change? Now, in closing, this week's theme is liberation through transformation, brought to you by the influence of the Five of Spades. Now, I have to admit that change is inevitable, and sometimes you'll choose to change, and other times change just happens out of the blue. But just know that all this restlessness is all for your growth. Stay with the discomfort long enough to understand its wisdom before you move on. Ready to bring more magic into your everyday life? Explore the Divine Align Candle Collection. Each one is intentionally crafted to align with your personal energy and fill your space with peace, clarity, and purpose. Pair your candle with Divine Align Journal to document your manifestations, synchronicities, and spiritual insights. It's the perfect way to stay grounded while you grow. Also, join our Soul Call Studio Substack for free today and get your angel number tracker, which is a beautiful tool to help you understand the messages that the universe is sending you. And when you upgrade to a paid membership, you'll unlock early access to daily posts, my weekly energy videos, and exclusive access to Numi AI, your AI spiritual guide for personalized numerology. Visit soulcarstudio.com or click the link below to start your journey. Stay radiant, stay aligned, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.